And welcome back to the Marnese Live Talk Show. Can you believe it? It's been a full year since I have done this, and I am so excited to come back to talk about this topic of self empowerment and self esteem. It is Black History Month, and I think as Black folks, we need to take a step back and do some self evaluation. This is my opinion, but we got some experts that are going to be coming on the Marnese Live Show to give us some pointers and how this resonates within our Black community, what we can do to move forward and empower ourselves to do whatever we want to do. And so I thank everybody for tuning in. Go ahead and share this information. Of course, you're more than welcome to chat and give us your pointers. We will definitely lift those up throughout the talk show. And also, I want to shout out to DJ Mark Fonzie. He can't be with us tonight, but as soon as we go back live in a couple of weeks, he'll be back with us on Thursdays, right? So usually I'm on Thursdays, but Wednesdays was the best night for today. And so now I'm going to have our guest come on. Let's welcome in. So I'm going to say this. Um, I have my frat brother and sorority sisters coming on, and there are some excellent people in the field. You'll find out about the Blue and White family if you don't know already, but and I got my beret on. Black Panthers, yes, in honor of our brother Huey P. Newton. Yes, we have some extraordinary people in the Blue and White family. Google us, okay? So I'm gonna bring in my sorors, Tasha Gore, Marquita Turner, Ladidra Wilson, and my fraternity brother Chris Scott as we get into this conversation. Welcome to the Marnie Slide Talk Show. Hey. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this conversation. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with our content creator, fashionista, Ladidra. Yes, Ladidra, I'm coming to you. She is rocking
Excuse,
our Yes,
excuse
yes,
me.
I love Ladidra. But let's start
I
off.
love you too.
Let's start off with some basic questions. I want everybody else to answer this. Could you tell our viewers what is your experience with self-esteem? Right?
Oh my God. It's been it's been about 3 decades in the making. Like if you had a hierarchy of self-esteem and this being the highest and this being the lowest, mine was like all the way down here, like to the floor in the earth's core. It was horrible. It started my self-esteem was bad probably since childhood, probably till about recently. And it was a variety of things. It started off for me. I was going to an all-black school, and then my parents moved to a better school district. And I was the only black person in my class for a very long time. And it started with like, why do you wear your hair like that? And why does your skin look like that? And why do you only wash your hair every 2 weeks and all this stuff? So it's like as I'm going to school, I'm just kind of like this, shrinking violet. And then when I got older and you get into middle school and you start liking guys, then it's like the guys didn't like you because you were too dark and they wanted to date light skinned girls or girls that were, non black. And then when I got older, I was until probably my childbearing when I started having kids, like when I got older, I was always very skinny. So then it was like, oh my God, you're skinny and you don't have, your body's not shaped like this and you're flat and you don't have a big butt and all this stuff. So then it was like that. So it was just like 3 decades of stuff just piled on. And I didn't know whether I was coming or going. It was very difficult for me. I was always trying to look like somebody else because I wasn't happy with the way that I looked, and I just got to a point where I'm comfortable with the way that I look. But yeah, I never, like, if you told me I was attractive, I would think you were just saying that to be nice. I wouldn't believe you until probably about maybe about a year ago. Like, I'm being so honest.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being honest and being vulnerable in this moment because it takes a lot to say all of that and lifting up how this looks for Black people. I identify with so much you just said around self esteem, just growing up. Marquita, I'm coming to you, honey. What does this look like for you in regards to self esteem? Then I'm gonna switch over to Chris.
What self-esteem look like? It looks like so many different things, and I think Ladidra kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of it. That I, especially that I've experienced as being a dark-skinned woman, um, growing up, far as childhood, being, teased about complexion and hair and clothing, and I didn't live in the best neighborhood, so I didn't come from a well-to-do family. I did live in poverty, so I came from a different walk of life of things. And then as you continue to grow and in the field that I'm in, when you have those things that are unhealed, those things continue to develop and manifest as you get older and even into adulthood. And although sometimes you come into a place where you feel like you're okay, you feel like you're safe, and you feel like you're doing well, but there are other things that kind of creep in and happen that you allow happen because you still have those unhealed wounds that are still there. So yeah, so I definitely identify with a lot of things that she definitely has said. And even like I said, even in the field, even now, even just dealing with the population that I deal with, you see it just across the board with different kids, whether it's girl or boy, no matter where it is. And then you
Right.
see the parents, because I deal with a lot of kids, and you see the parents who are dealing with these same issues, kind of transferring it down to their own children as well.
Thank you. And I want you to put a pin in there about the parents
Mm-hmm.
because as we talk about generational, talking about Black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this goes for other cultures as well. But once again, this is Black History Month. We care about Black people, and how can we move our culture forward? Thinking about this from a post-traumatic stress or slave syndrome, how it's passed down generations. We're gonna come back to that point. But Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, what does this look like you with being a Black male? And I see you got a lot of great things happening. What does self esteem and, of course, self empowerment look like to you and your journey to? Because I'd like to make sure that people tell us their personal journey because you guys are all doing some awesome things. But how did you get here, and what have you experienced?
Well, you know what? Growing up, I was actually pretty good with
Hmm.
self-esteem early on, but then, I ended up being like in elementary school, one of the shortest kids, right? So that's when I always got the jokes and everything about my height. Sometimes in jest, sometimes not in jest. It was like me being short was a bad thing, something that I couldn't control. People were joking about it, and it was like a bad thing. I'm like, but I couldn't do anything about that. So over time, when you get so many jokes, then it started to kind of impact me a little bit when I was younger. And so as I got older, the height thing stopped impacting me. Right? I'm like, okay, hey, I'm short. Both of my parents are short. I couldn't control this. I'm fine with my height. I probably won't go to the NBA, and that's okay, right? Because I don't want to go to the NBA anyway. But uh, as I got older, I did really well in school academically and everything. But when I got to college, that's when I had a stint of depression and anxiety disorder. And so at that point, self esteem, when it came to my physical appearance, I was okay with that. But then in electrical engineering, I was competing against a lot of other students from other countries, primarily like Chinese, Caucasian Americans and Indian Americans. And when I was going through my stint of depression, I was failing, I almost flunked out of college. So from going through K through 12, getting good grades and being on an honor roll, consecutive semesters and all of that, to going to being on academic probation, right? My self-esteem took a hit because I felt that I'm not smart enough to compete against all of these other people that are in electrical engineering, right? And then I went to my academic advisor, and she's like, "Well, are you sure about you want to be an electrical engineer?" She was looking at my grades, and so from that point, my self-esteem took a huge hit until later on, until I started to feel more confident because I was able to get help, mental health therapy for my anxiety, my depression. I started to really feel better about myself and feel like I could do it. And then after college, a little bit, some people were doing exceedingly well very quickly. And it took me a little while longer. So I would look at somebody else and say, yeah, that's good for them. But then I would look internally like, Chris, why aren't you there yet? Are you not good enough? Are you not smart enough? So self-esteem again is taking a hit. But now at this point, I'm confident in who I am internally and externally. I'm comfortable and confident with my accomplishments as well. And I realize that I'm who I am. Everybody else is who they are. Everybody has their own separate journey, right? And so I just focus on me. I'm happy. I cheer on. I inspire other people. But I'm happy with who I am, because this is who God made me to be. And I've developed into this person over time. I'm really happy with me.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. And I talked to my daughter London about all of that. Like, try to instill the self-esteem and the self-confidence because teenage girls, they're influenced by a whole bunch of stuff. And like, are you happy with you, right? Like, do you like the way you look? It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what all those other people think. I'm telling them, like, I don't care what they think. I don't care. What do you think? um. So, Miss TT Tasha Gore.
Hey,
So,
hey, hey.
so Tasha is definitely also coming from another unique position. She has some exciting things that just came out. We're gonna definitely lift that up closer too. Um, yeah, I got y'all. I got y'all. I was all stalking y'all Facebook pages and stuff. But Tasha, what does self-esteem and self-empowerment look like to you?
A
Ellie.
journey, a really, really long journey. It's interesting listening because I deal primarily with women of color, and I deal with women of color that have gone through trauma, which is you know par for course most of us, and I hear the same stories, right? Whether I have a client who she calls herself light bright, and I said, why are you always referring to your color? But that's what we were referred to, right? And so from the colorism to the size of who we were growing up, I was by far, for years, I would hear, if the wind blew, you're gonna fly away. Oh, you should eat a cheeseburger. Oh, you don't have, all these things about weight, skin. But then we don't talk about, well, you put a pin in it with the parents, right?
Mhm,
About how we got taught who we were
mhm,
by what was said to us, right? So I had a stepmother that would say, squeeze your nose because it's too wide. Or you can't go outside right now because you'll get too dark, right? So these were things that were perpetuated continuously in the household that you live in. Then what begins to happen is you that's your barometer for, am I pretty, am I good enough, right? And people, I laugh all the time because people say to me, oh, I love your hair. I said, girl, you know how long I hate this stuff on the top of my head. All I wanted was a perm and a silk wrap so I could do this, right? Like all of my peers were, because nobody in my family knew how to do anything with this. Community hit it and it went and I looked like a chia pet, right? And so it was the truth. What is that? I did. I was walking around with an afro, and it was the '90s, and it was not cute. And so when I look at self-esteem, the first thing I realized was it was being validated by everybody but me, right? Everybody else was telling me who and what I was, but me. And it took me well into my early 30s to start realizing that somebody else was writing my script.
ah,
And so at 34 I had this, I could call it my epiphany moment, like, but who the hell are you, excuse me? But really, like, who made you the standard, who made you that person? And then as I started to go through this journey, I'm having to strip away these thoughts. So when I talk to people about self-esteem, I don't even ask them, like, are you comfortable with you? Because 95% of us are not,
mhm,
right? Most of us, on any given day, my stomach is too big. I don't like the way this outfit fit. My hair not acting right. We have a zillion things we can nitpick. What I ask people is not what do you like about you. I ask them all the time, what do you love about you? And if the answer to that does not, add to who they are, then that's where we're gonna start at. And that's how we empower ourselves. Take your power back.
Thank you. And let's talk more about validation, Tasha, and Deidre, Marquita, and Chris. Like, um, why do people, and Tasha, I know you went there, why do we constantly seek other people's validation when we know God made us differently, obviously? There's not a whole bunch of Marneses walking around here, or Chris or Tasha's. Like, clearly this is data proven. Why do we seek other people's validations for anything? Like, why do we go there? And then what is the answer?
We're taught that, right? Like
Mhm.
from here, we're taught it. And I mean, if you think about it, we're taught it with grades. Grades tell us how good we are, right? We're taught it with our parents liking or disliking what we do. Our parents being disappointed, or you know, we're taught it when we're told we're a good kid, we're a bad kid. We're taught to look for any friendships. Listen, my daughter is in school right now. She's a paraeducator and she's got second graders. And she's like, their relationships, when they fall apart because they're not friends anymore, the adults all go, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay to be okay tomorrow. But these kids are having existential crises because this person no longer wants to be my friend. And
Mhm.
that's a real thing for us. And we dismiss it, right? We dismiss wanting to belong. And we're taught that in and for Black people specifically, we have been taught again and again and again what we're not. We have whole systems set up to tell us what the hell we're not.
Right.
So it's not surprising to me that we're always looking for someone else to say, you're good enough. Oh my God, you're great.
Mhm.
Oh, you look gorgeous today. Oh, right. And most times we're always looking on the outside shell because folks don't get to know you long enough to know who you are on the inside.
Right.
And you 9 times out of 10 don't know you well enough to be able to show who you are on the inside sometimes, right? So we're all walking around with these masks trying to get people to like us. So I can belong someplace, so I can feel worthy. And this is that journey.
Okay. Marquis, what do you think about that?
She's right. I mean, we lack self acceptance,
Mhm.
and we don't know what that really looks like. So we look for it in other people. We look for that sense of belonging. We want that acceptance. We want to fit in a lot of different times. So a lot of times we do those things to help us fit in. We change our looks.
Mhm.
We minimize ourselves. We glorify the things that really are not doesn't fit the mold of who we really are, but of what society or other people tell us what it's supposed to look like.
But just okay, okay. But we're grown adults. I can understand teenagers, okay, some collegiate students, right? But like grown adults go through this validation type of situation. Chris, have you seen this? Ladidra, have you seen this? What are your thoughts on that?
Chris can go first.
Okay. Yes, definitely. I've seen it a whole lot, and I think it goes back. Like honestly, I think it goes back generations and generations and generations because even with our ancestors, right, in Africa, the different tribes and everything, right, we wanted to belong to the tribes. We didn't want to be outside of the tribes, right? So even now, in present day, we look for ways to belong to different groups that we feel are our tribe and they can validate us, right, to be a part of what they're a part of. And that helps to make us feel good. Like she said, it makes us feel worthy. Like, oh, wow, you said I'm good. I'm a part of the tribe. I'm a part of something. And that helps me to feel even better about myself because everybody is not a part of this group, but I am.
Hmm. But okay, that's fine. We're part of the group. We're part of the tribe. Great. All right. But when does that individualistic person's kind of pop out, right? Like, how do I become my own person within the tribe or within the group? Because a lot of people within groups, group think, and all that type of stuff suffer from just backing away from the group dynamics, right? Like, how do you separate yourself from that? Like, if we're talking about teenagers who may want to be a part of different groups, how do you become more well rounded, but then still be a part of the group? Having that self empowerment and that self esteem to say, hey, I'm more than just this group or a part of this tribe. I am this part, I'm this too, and I'm okay with it. Like, what does that look like?
It looks like somebody who has definitely has a lot of self-confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what exactly what it looks like. So I'm gonna give you a little story really quickly. I remember when you first started the show. No, but it's serious. I like to be transparent, and I was like, oh, I hope she asked me. I remember I think I even reached out to you a little bit even about being on your show, and I was like, oh, I'm not part of the in crowd. Oh, why she hasn't? You know, asked me to be on the show. You know, blah blah blah. I had these little thoughts or whatever, and it never happened. And to be honest, that was just part of my own insecurities of not being part of something that felt like I thought you were dope. I'm being honest.
Well, I'm sorry you felt that way because it's definitely.
No, no apology needed. Is you don't owe me an apology, none of that. But I'm just giving you just a real example, real live example of an adult who just did something as simple as small as that.
Hmm.
And just getting to a place, getting to a comfortable place. If you just like Titi said, just being comfortable with who you are, just accepting who you are, knowing who you are.
But there's
We talk about bringing, you know, being a part of being invited to the table, and we say these things of, you know, bring your own table, or create your own table, and all these different things. But some people don't, and I'm using that as as an example of people don't know how to do that because they don't know, they haven't had that confidence yet to say, I am enough, I'm good enough, and that I can create and build my own. And just because I'm not a part of something doesn't mean that I'm not accepted. It doesn't mean that I'm not worthy. It doesn't mean that there's an issue or a problem. It doesn't mean that I'm just a nobody out here. I'm still somebody, regardless of if I'm part of this group or this whatever, whatever's going on, or part of your show or not,
Hmm.
since I put myself out there like that.
Hmm.
But it's just saying that, knowing that you are enough and you're good enough, regardless if you're part of the show or not. And I can still say my sister is dope. She's doing her thing, and I still can still watch her grow and be beautiful. And I can, go my own route, my own lane, my own path.
Hmm. Well, I'm happy you're here. And just
Me
FYI,
too.
anybody can come on the show. As much, I mean, if you decide you want to go left on the topic, we can always go left, and I'll bring you back right. You know what I'm saying? I'm about that life, but anybody can come on the Marnese Live show. Just tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll get it going. So that I publicly said that. Ladidra, I'm going to get you back into the conversation, and thank you so much, Marquita, for bringing it up because
Oh, no
you know,
worries.
um, sometimes as a person that does a lot, sometimes I do drop the ball. I said that publicly. Oh my goodness, Marnies can't do it all.
we're gonna put a pin in that.
Nobody's
Somebody write it
perfect.
down.
I said it. Ladija, how you doing over there, hon?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
and I know we kind of start talking about this validation piece, and
Hmm.
but I also wanted to bring it in back to the Black experience because we are all a part of this culture where Tasha said the system has been laid out for us. They telling us what we gonna do, right? They want to benefit from Black culture, right?
Mm.
So, what does this look like, from a black perspective? Like it says, Black History Month. That's every day, though, people. Even though they try and take it out the schools, this is every day, people. Um, what does that look like? How can we expand? Because I think we all have to take a step back with our activism, and that self-esteem and self-empowerment is probably the first step where we need to go to versus jumping into the policy arena. I think we just have to build ourselves up personally and then go collectively.
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on, of course, validation, expanding to the Black community collectively, and how do you send that message out? Right? Like, how do you say,
Hmm.
"Look, we need to work on ourselves. Go get you a therapist. Go find your hobby." What does this look like?
Well, the first thing is that a lot of people have a struggle with realizing that Black people are not a monolith. That is serious, and I say that, and I'm talking about my. I'm using an example. I remember when I went natural. Oh my God, I think it's been 11. It's been how long? Is it? Oh my God, I can't remember. It's about 14 years. It's been 14 years since I went natural. And I remember when I first did it, it was like, why would you do that? Because it was kind of like starting to get popular, but it wasn't like super popular. And I remember one of my cousins, he has a business, and he was like, if you work for me, I wouldn't let you come to work like that with your hair looking like that. And I'm like, why? And he was just like, because it's not professional. And I'm just like, okay. And then just like a lot of older people, specifically people over 50, would be like, why would you wear your hair like that? Or, you know, um, your hair looks so much nicer when it's straightened. And I for like the first 2 years, I was struggling. Like, I'm like, maybe I should get my relaxer back. Maybe I should get it back. And now I'm like, I would never get a relaxer in my hair again. I just wouldn't do it. Another thing is, and when I talk about Black people not being a monolith, is that people need to be accepting of the different types of styles that Black people present. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we, again, are not a monolith. And we need to stop saying, like, people shouldn't wear certain things after a certain age, or you shouldn't dress like that, or saying, like, somebody dresses white, or, or you dress weird because you don't dress like everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Cause
so
I get like, cause I like to wear over, like, if you see now, I have like non-matching earrings. I have on overalls, and some people would say, "Oh, you're too old for that. You're 47. Why are you wearing overalls?" I remember, it's so funny. I went to I was going down. I live in Ohio now, and I was going to a house that's in Ripley, Ohio, where it's part of the Underground Railroad. So the slaves used to cross the Ohio River and go to this house, and they would feed them and clothe them and help them get to Canada. And so I was taking my kids down there, and so I had on overalls, because I love overalls, and I had on a head wrap. And one of my male relatives looked at me and was like, "Why are you wearing that? You're dressed like a slave." And I'm like, "What?" Because I had on a head wrap and overalls. I'm just like, wow. And it's crazy that in 2000, this is 2020, and even now people still have ideas like that, and it's just very sad. It's
okay,
very
but on the flip side, since we're talking about self-esteem, validation, and all that, okay, I've been told that the standards of Black people is down. Okay, we can, women specifically,
Mhm.
because of the way we dress. Some women are more free with less clothing. Like, look, I'm not afraid. Like, I have psoriasis, so I'm not afraid to walk around in my bathing suit nowadays. Okay, I used to be scared to do that, but nowadays I'm like, oh, look, you're not going to take over me, psoriasis. I'm going to wear my bathing suit and some shorts because I didn't wear that. But some people feel that women are overly sexualizing themselves because they're walking around half naked. There's nothing for men, or if you're the same sex, you like to, part of that community, there's nothing to look forward to. So where does all this come on within the Black community? And Chris, I want to come
that's
to you
funny.
because
That's funny.
Chris,
That's funny. I'll say this. I don't think anybody had a problem with sexualizing Black women specifically until Black women started making money off of their own sexualization
You
as
better
zombies.
say that.
I'm
As
sorry.
long as men were making money off of it, it wasn't a problem. When the Two Live Crew was doing it, it wasn't a problem.
True.
But
Oh,
then when Cardi B and Meg The Stallion came in, oh my God, like all these respected, put some clothes on and da 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 da, and it's like, oh really now? Well, where was all this outrage in the 80s and 90s, in the early 2000s, when all these rappers have been doing this for decades? Nobody said a word. But now it's like women are doing it. And I'm not saying that I do it, but I'm saying if that's what they choose to do, I don't listen to a lot of the stuff that they do, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. You have the option of turning the channel. That's all you have to do is turn the channel. And you never have to see it again.
Chris, what do you think about
Khadijah, that's
that?
too easy for them to do.
Girl, listen.
You know what? For me, from a male perspective, right? I respect women's ability to do what they want to do, right? I
Mhm.
think the issue that I have, which saddens me, is when there are women that don't feel for whatever reason that they're beautiful enough, right? They
Mhm.
don't feel they look good enough and they can't get someone, and then they go to the point of getting a whole lot of plastic surgery to try to make themselves more appealing, right? They get BBLs, they get all of the things done in their body to try to lift their self-esteem because they don't feel good about themselves internally. I think that's when I'm like, man, that's messed up. But women who want to wear what they want to wear out in public and show some skin, I mean, do your thing, right? We're grown, and if you don't want to look, don't look.
But so but the thing is though, Chris, there's that narrative, you know, that's going around within the black community, and of course that needs to die. That's of course women are overly sexualized, and then our teenagers are seeing it, our kids are seeing it, so they want to be naked. Like none of this is new under the sun. Like you do know that when Aaliyah and back in the day when we used to show our bellies with the big jeans like TLC and all type of stuff,
Yeah.
somebody had something to say about that, right? And quite honestly, a lot of the messaging in the song was still the same. It was not as raunchy as it is nowadays. But to your point, Ladija, Two Live Crew, NWA can say all the nastiest stuff. Luke and all of them can say the
Mhm.
same exact thing that Cardi B is saying, but then all black women are they're not gonna be able to get a man. They all this extra stuff, and I'm like, this is just not true. Like, but I don't know. So I wanted to talk about that, but also, when we talk about society's beauty standards, and you went there, Chris, about the BBLs and like who are we? Where is that stemming from? Of course, we all know lack of self-esteem, but is it something beyond that? Are we trying to still be like society? Like,
No, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. I think
mhm,
social media has made it like really put it out there. There was a study that was done in like 2012 that said that out of all races, that black women had the highest self-esteem regarding their bodies. And then there was an article as recent as 2 years ago that was stating that black women were at this getting plastic surgery at the same rate as white women. And I think a lot of that is due to like social media has, the ideology behind the Instagram model. I'm not gonna lie, I went for a consultation for one back in 2016. It was at a place in Novi. It was called Star Plastics Center, Plastic Surgery Center, and I went there, and I went, and they go in there and they you strip down and they take a marker and draw everything, and they're like, okay, we're gonna take the fat from here, 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 and here, and then we're gonna do this, 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 and then they said, okay, for this, it's gonna cost you, like, I think they had a special. It was like $9,000, and I'm just like, do I really want to spend $9,000 on this? And I'm like, nah. But again, it's like I have issues. Like I've had issues with it because it's like you again, just like black people aren't a monolith, black women's bodies aren't a monolith. We all don't have the same shape, but for some odd reason, it's like if you don't have a specific type of build, you're not shaped like a black woman. And it's like that pressure, and it's so loud. We didn't have access to social media like this 20 years ago. Now it's like it's constant, constant, constant. So you have to be a very strong person and very strong with yourself to not let that stuff get to you. And I do believe that there are some people that do it just because they make themselves feel better, and that's fine. But I do feel that there's a lot of people that do it to be more competitive, because
Or
that's what the motive is out there, to get a man, to for money, to my because they see women out here that have certain bills and they're getting monetized on platforms. It's a lot of things.
so it pretty much boils down to getting attention, which is kind of rooted in lack of self-esteem. Tasha, would you agree or disagree? Where we at with this?
I think for some people, and like I said, some people, I just think they just want to do it. There's a few people that do it because they just it'll make them feel better, and that's fine. And but I think more often than not, it's because of, like you said, self-esteem issues, or thinking that that's going to make them more competitive. Getting a partner, or in some of it's just to get monetized, because they see women getting monetized because
Mhm,
of their body, for their body, so they do that too.
I think one of the things that, like in all of these conversations, there's a thread,
mhm.
and that is, nothing just started with our generation. I mean, women were not having clothes on back when Josephine Baker was on stage, right? So
Just
this
I
isn't
mean, she
really,
had her titties out with a banana. Look,
and
come
it,
on.
and it was called art, and that people have been walking around naked forever. So this really isn't about that. When I listen to what's happening in our community, I have to remind people that healing is a journey, right? We if we start talking about the black community, it doesn't start in the 90s. It didn't start in the 60s. It didn't start in the 20s and 30s. It didn't start when slavery happened, right? But slavery was a very big disruption in how we became who we were. And so when I talk to women specifically about how we see ourselves, I'm going to use a really high number here because of the ones that I've met and the ones that I've worked with, I'm going to tell you 99.72%, right? And I just threw that number together. But um, we're carrying our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, our great great grandmothers stuff, all of it, right? How we see ourselves, our body. I grew up in a church. You needed to be dressed a certain way to be holy. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Right. And depending on who you were on Sunday, might not have been who you was on Monday when you went to school. Right. Because it was that's just this through. I grew up in the 90s. And so we have all these things that I think people are trying to fit. And I use that word with quotation marks around it. How do we fix the black community? How do we fix this thing? And I ask people, why are we fixing it? Like, what are we really trying to fix? What we really want to do is how do we heal? How do we become more of ourselves? How do I allow myself to be really vulnerable and a work in progress? I can be healing, healed, and whole all at the same damn time, right? And so, and you're gonna find, like math. I use the example of being a mathematician. When we started math, we learned the numbers first, right? And then they was like, here's some addition, here's some subtraction. Oh, add some multiplication to that and some division. We have learned nothing more than how to use those things several different ways. And as we do healing, it becomes really important for us to look at our community and stop judging it, right? By this kind of barometer that doesn't really fit us. We're a journey. It's happening. So when I look at my daughter, I might not dress like that, right? But damn it, if you want to pull it off and you got the confidence to do it, baby girl, do so. Because there may come a time when she doesn't feel that way anymore. She may decide she wants to do something different. She may want to dress differently. She might want to, so our experiences aren't just this season. We live multiple seasons, and it's like we're trying to fix a problem in a season. I think we just got to live some more and stop judging each other. Like, stop, like, thinking that you got the answer for everybody. because you
Exactly.
don't. Like this, like you can't tell Tasha about Tasha because Tasha didn't spend some time with Tasha. Now, I may be able to share some things that I've learned with you, and we may be able to take principles of those things, but you're going to have to uniquely take that yourself and figure out how it applies to you. So, how can I sit in judgment of who you are?
Thank you so much, Tasha. But I want everybody else to add in because on the Marnie Side Talk Show, I always try to give people, offer people some things that they can do within their respective community, um, or within the spaces that they sit, that they can offer someone else. Hey, I learned this on the Marnie Side Talk Show. Maybe you want to take it back. Versus us just sitting down here talking about everybody and criticizing and judging. You know how that goes. No shade, but I'm just saying that's how some talk shows are, and I'm just not about that life anymore. Um, Never was though. But I just wanted to say, like, what can we offer? First of all, parents. Let's go back to the parents because we are raising new generations
Mhm.
that are in the world, and what can we offer our parents who are viewing and may see this information? Um, Tasha, you went there. Just stop the judgment. Hey, that's the number one thing that we all can do. Like, just stop. But Chris, Marquita, Ladidra, what do you think? And that we can offer our viewers, like parents, to instill self-esteem, self-empowerment. As I'm taking pointers because I'm raising a teenager and a teenager son, and I'm just like, okay. And you know what? They got the Marnese confidence. I have to say, they got it. Like, look, you can't tell my kids they don't look fly. You won't be able to. They got it. However, I noticed, I noticed that one may suffer from, hey, am I being liked because of this, or do they like me because I'm all this? And I'm like, why do you care? Like that's what mommy is saying because mommy been through all that. But I'm like, why do you care? So what can you offer me or anyone else like who's dealing with children growing up in this world?
You have to validate your kids before other people do, so they
Okay.
don't have to seek it. If you validate them first, then it's going to be easier. But if you don't validate them or ever say anything, that's when the problems come in. And then, yeah, so validate your kids.
So there's nothing wrong with me saying, hey, London, you look fly, or you
No,
get
no, absolutely
No,
not. No,
oh,
you should, because
that's not gassing my peanut up. Like I'm like,
no, I mean, no, it's nothing wrong with it. Like, I mean, it's saying, you look fly or whatever, you're smart or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that because you should say those things. And because if you validate your kids, they'll have a natural, natural confidence about themselves. They won't need to go out and seek it from other people that may not have good intentions.
absolutely.
so I guess I'm doing something right with my babies.
Okay.
All right. What did you think, Marquita?
I think it was so much that was being said that I kind of wanted to jump in, but I had to kind of hold back on some things. So if I could just go backwards just a little bit, if you guys allow me to, as we were talking about our sexuality, Black women and sexuality, and different things like that. And I don't want to take it necessarily as it relates to men or women, but I think as Black people, as a culture, we create our own problems a lot of the times, right? Um, I'm going to use an example because I love using examples of one of my mentors. She posted something today about a man coming across her, and he was, gave her a compliment. He loved her hair and all these different things, but then he began to bash other women, saying, because these women with weaves and da da da. But she made it, turn it into a funny because she said, well, he's doing that, but he was wearing a toupee, So yeah, I was cracking up. But the whole thing about that is, I bring that up is sometimes it's if you're not secure, if we're not secure within ourselves, those type of comments, we take them and we internalize them, right? Because we're not secure in who we are, comfortable in our skin, whether we wear weave or not, right? So That's one part of it, is that, and women do that to other women as well. It's like, it is okay if I want to wear weave, or she want to wear weave, or she wants to rock her natural. That should be okay. Beauty should not beauty is in the eye in the eye of the beholder, right? Not in your eyes. It is okay to have a preference. And that's part of the issue, is like, have a preference. But just because you have a preference doesn't mean you have to bash the next person,
Mhm.
right? So that constantly continues to create a divide within our own people because of that. Um, Now, fast forward, because I wanted to get that off, but fast forward to, as far as parents and our kids, and yes, absolutely validate your kids. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Because they need to hear it. At home is the front line before they go out into the world. So whatever you're giving them and feeding them in house, if they're not getting what they need there, they're going to seek it out in the world, right or wrong.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think for us as adults, or even as parents, or just adults, period, be the example that you want to see every day. When I come across a woman, or person, I show them one, I show them respect. Two, I always say, hey beautiful, hey gorgeous. If y'all don't know me, I like men, but I validate my ladies. I validate women and say, hey beautiful, hey gorgeous, you know hey honey. I'll say compliments or anything. If you don't have a compliment, keep it to yourself,
Mhm.
because negativity feeds somebody's low self-esteem, that could feed it even more, make it even lower, and internalizing, because you never know what a person is going through, you never know where a person is coming from, you never know what a person needs. So if you are that confident person that you say you are or want to be, then you have to exemplify that. Validate yourself, and it's okay to validate others around you. That's my piece.
Chris, what can you offer viewers on self-esteem, empowerment, that they can offer their children, even themselves or other people?
Right. You know what? From a parent's perspective, I think I agree with what everybody else said in terms of validating, but I also think validation, but also listening to your kids, right? My parents are baby boomers, right? So I grew up, and I don't feel that, my parents, and I grew up in a loving household. My parents loved me, they raised me very well, but when it came to my feelings about certain things, I didn't think that my feelings were a priority, so to speak, right? Or that they meant a lot, right? And so I really didn't express them a lot, especially considering that I grew up, I had brothers, like five brothers, and then my dad, they never really expressed their feelings either. So, I didn't feel my feelings were valuable, right? So being able to listen to your kid and really understand where they're coming from, and not just tell them if they say something that might be out of line or that you don't think is right. Don't just tell them, don't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way, right? Because they have the ability to feel the way that they want to feel. And just because you're telling them don't feel that way, that's not going to erase the feelings that they have. And so being able to listen and being able to not only validate them physically and things like that, but also validate their feelings. Just like my daughter, we go to a school in the she goes to a school in the suburbs, and you know, she's the minority in the school. So she, at one point, will come home talking to my wife and I, saying that, my hair is not pretty. My hair is not long like Melania's, right? Things like that. So at home, we listened to her and understood her feelings, and then gave her, compliments. We started to validate, like, hey, Mia, you're beautiful, baby. Everybody is different. Your hair is just as good as everybody else's, right? Your hair is not ugly. Your hair is great. No matter if it was long, short, your hair is beautiful. You're beautiful. So being able to validate them and understand them. And then from a self empowerment perspective, everybody that's here on this earth, right? There's a statistic that was done by this doctor, and I talk about this often, where the chance of you being born, every single human being, they did an extrapolation of different data sequences and things like that. But the chances of you being conceived by your parents are approximately 1 in 400 quadrillion, right? And the chances of you actually being born is 1 in 400 trillion. So that alone says that you are a miracle walking on this earth, that you belong here and you're valuable, because if you weren't, you would not even be here right now. So having that and being able to understand that you're valuable, that you bring worth to this world, right? I believe helps people to be able to feel better about themselves, and looking at who you are, looking at the things that you've done, looking at your gifts, the things that you're good at, right? And really focusing on you and how you impact the world as a whole. That's what I think.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up, and because I want to make sure that I respect everybody's time. It's almost 10 o'clock. But I want to say thank you, Chris, Marquita, Tasha, and Ladidra for coming on the Marnese Live Show. But right now, I want you all to tell me what you got going on in your respective areas. Marquita, I'm going to start with you. Um, well, I can come back to you if you want, but I wanted to be a teacher just to call on people randomly. I can come back. See. You know what? That's why. You know what?
No, it's fine. It's fine. You can start with
Something
me.
not meant for me to do.
That's fine. Um, as of right now, what I have going on, I'm kind of putting just aligning things as I get started with a few things. One of them being I'm working on my second book.
Okay.
So I got that in place, and there's some other things I'm kind of tapping into that I've held myself back on, had a fear of, and yeah, I don't want to kind of spill it just yet,
Mhm.
but I'm working on it slowly but surely. Um, but I'm coming out of what I would say is in this era, I'm being fearless
Mhm.
and confident and taking and stepping out on faith. So that is pretty much what I'm doing, and hopefully by the closer to fall, end of summer, fall, I'll be doing event that's called Ladies Taking Over, which I had started before the pandemic had happened, which have women come together and we kind of it's like a social networking event. And I had started that, had a few events. COVID hit, stopped it. So I'm thinking I'm going to pick it back up, but this time I think I want to do it on a bigger scale.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Pandemic. So, um, so we are still in a pandemic, and I want to send prayers out to my loved ones who are impacted by COVID again. Um, and prayers out to people who have lost loved ones during this time, MSU, in the world, this period. Prayers to everyone who have lost loved ones.
Absolutely.
Um, and Marquita, can you put the name of your book in the chat, and we can put that and promote that out there for you? Chris,
Absolutely.
What you got going on?
Well, I do actually released my first book last year. It's called Control Your Mindset to Control Your Life. Probably can't really see this. Oh, there you go. Thanks. Yeah. It's called Control Your Mindset to Control Your Life. And it's a book just pretty much about how I was able to go from, being just depressed, anxiety, not feeling good about myself, and how I was able to shift my mindset and just the different things I did in order to get where I am now. So my book, in addition, I am a professional speaker. So I speak to college students, businesses around mindset, emotional intelligence, and leadership. So if you know someone who needs a speaker for an event or a host for an event, I can definitely speak with them. And also have Black empowerment clothing line called I'm Black and .net, and it just takes some of the stigmas and stereotypes about the Black community, and it turns it around into positive apparel, right? So like the shirt I got on now is called I'm Black and a Great Dad, and it goes against the absent Black father myth, right? So, check that out too. We got a lot of different things for adults and kids too. So thank you.
All right, all right, all right, all right. So let's check out. They're gonna put their books in the chat, and when I re-edit, I can also put the stuff on the video. Um, all right, Ladidra, what you got going on over there? She's gonna be helping me facilitate a whole bunch of talk shows. That's one.
Okay.
So that's
See, I
one
just
thing. See, that's just one thing she's gonna be doing. But
I
she's
just I got voluntold. I see how you voluntold me right there. But in May, on May the 6th, I'm going to be in a part of a conference called Myself Included,
Mhm.
and I am going to be host or part of a breakout session that's entitled "This Is Not the Life That I Wanted." And it's May 6th, and it's going to be in Southfield. I don't know exactly where the venue is, but as soon as I do, I'll let everybody know. And it's just going to be me talking about how I envisioned my life, what actually happened in my life, and then the steps that I took to shift my life to make my life better. It wasn't what I wanted, but I made it into something that worked for me, and it's a continuing work in process.
Yes, Ladidra. Yes, I love it. Tasha, 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 what you got going over there?
Because she exists, y'all. So, at the beginning of this year, I dropped a workbook called Envisioning Finer Things. Um,
Awesome.
and it is a workbook. It's just a mini guide. I shouldn't say just. We're gonna take that out your language, Tasha. It's a mini guide to designing your life, and it's different. Thank you. With lots of different activities, journal prompts, gratitude, vision board. What I wanted to do was help people begin to ask yourself the questions, right? So what I find a lot of times in therapy is that we're asking questions that people have never thought of. And they start going, wait, I never thought of this like that, right? And so I want people to begin to pull back the layers so we can be intentional this year about who we really truly want to be. Along with that, we are putting together an affirmation deck because I want us to start speaking the things that we are, the things that we desire, so that we can start seeing them manifest in our lives. Um, and really, when I use the word intention, I hear people say it, but I don't think they really understand the power of it. That when we put our energy behind intention, it's going to manifest every single time. And so I want to do more teaching around that. I also do trauma teaching, and I do it for educators, and I'm looking to expand that to other groups of people because what we don't know kills us. And a lot of us walk around talking about, I went through trauma. What Talk to me about that? What does that look like? Because everything wasn't trauma. Some stuff was processed, right? Some stuff we need to process. Other stuff was, right? And so I'm looking forward to just finding new ways to uplift all of us because we're gonna do this thing together. We're gonna heal and we're gonna walk this thing together because we need each other. And so that's what's happening on my side of the world.
Tasha, can you put the link in the chat to the finer things? And I'm gonna play the video really quickly for our promotions. All right, lovely. I got to get my copy. I got to get my copy, and make sure you trademark that name. Just I'm all about trademarking stuff. Y'all get your stuff trademarked and your logos and everything. So you
You
want to?
actually dropped it already, love.
Okay. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So I want to thank you all for coming on to the Marnese Live Talk Show. I'll go live next week, and I'm going to be talking about foster care, um, in the Black community with a Michigan pageant contestant. And that's one of the things that she's really excited about. So look forward to that next week. Um, so I really appreciate you all coming on to get this back going. I really wanted to talk about self esteem and self empowerment because as an activist in the Black community, I noticed that this is something that we're all struggling with, especially from an activist standpoint. And I see a lot of leaders who we all looked up to suffer from a lot of issues. And, doing the work of social justice, whatever area you're working in, it can take a lot on you mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And then you may find out that you're struggling with a lot of stuff that you may not have even known. So I wanted to do this show just in honor of my black ancestors, and then also of black people in general. As we all know, we getting hit left and right. It's always something. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I appreciate you all coming on to give us some of these jewels that you all gave us. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Marquita. Thank you, Ladidra. Thank you, Tasha, my sorors and Fred. And I will see you all out here in these streets of Zeta and Sigma Land. All right.
All right, take care. Good
Thank you for
night.
having me.
Good
Take care,
night.
everybody.
Good night.